TYT is partnering with participant media to help solve the climate crisis. Wouldn't that be great? Now look, you gotta check out our series, 10 Days of Action, to learn more about what you can do to make a difference, and go see an inconvenient sequel, Truth to Power, in theaters in New York and LA on July 28th and nationwide August 4th.
A group of vigilantes in San Fernando Valley, California have decided to help escort individuals who want to shop at grocery stores into the grocery stores to avoid panhandlers. In fact, panhandling in Chatsworth, California has gotten so bad that vigilantes feel like they need to take matters into their own hands and protect shoppers. So let's hear from Cher Bentley, who happens to be the person who founded a Facebook page to kind of mobilize people to be these vigilantes. She says, we've had a lot of concerns about aggressive panhandling, the homeless using the entrance to Ralph's as a bathroom, and people have stopped shopping here and are going to other areas, which is bad for our community. Instead of people being scared and running off, we thought we would come here and escort people who feel unsafe. We want people to shop in our community without being fearful. Now, I have no hate for Cher. I hear what she's saying. She wants to protect shoppers, and that's great. But this is a symptom of a problem that we continuously ignore. And homelessness has increased dramatically in parts of the country, Los Angeles County being one of those parts. So one of the panhandlers in the area was interviewed by the Los Angeles Daily News. His name is Archer. He's a 30-year-old from Alabama with a moniker JTRA. He said he's a musician who plays guitar, bass, piano. He produces, sings, raps, and is a DJ, and has gigs lined up and another job, but he doesn't make enough money to live in a residence. So people are, again, either living in their cars or living on the streets, even if they have jobs. And so I think a lot of people in the country can relate to this right now. And I'm gonna give you the reasons why we're seeing more and more homelessness in just a second, but I want you to jump in.
Yeah, on this one I got mixed feelings too, and I'll tell you why. So the case of JTRA, who clearly has too many letters in his name, but in his initials, but he seems like a good guy, and he's on hard times. And you read some of his quotes, and it's gut wrenching. He's like, "Look, man, we're barely trying to survive here. I got a job, I don't make enough money," and you feel terrible for him. And that is the case probably for a lot of the homeless. On the other hand, some of the homeless do have drug issues, we can't be naive about that, and have mental illness issues.
Yep.
So if you say to me, okay, are you comfortable with yourself or your family or whatever walking past someone who you think has a decent chance of having mental illness? Look, walking past is too strong. Of course you can walk past them. There's homeless, unfortunately, in all these cities, and we don't give them proper care. But if some people feel uncomfortable with it and they want to be escorted in, I'm not sure that I think that's a terrible thing. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, look, like I said, I do not blame anyone who wants to get involved and protect customers who want to go in and shop. And look, I'm gonna be honest, I've personally experienced homeless people who have untreated, because they're homeless, untreated mental problems or mental conditions. And there was one time when I was running in my neighborhood, and a guy started coming at me. He took off his belt. He started swinging it and started coming in my direction. And I had to run in the other direction as fast as I could because I was scared. But this problem is gonna get worse, and it is getting worse at this very moment for a number of different reasons. But the two issues that I want to focus on, and I know you're gonna roll your eyes, but housing, that's definitely a problem.
I'm not rolling my eyes.
No, I know, but it's an issue that I care about because, look, we can build moats around ourselves as much as we want, right? But we all want to live in nice, safe communities where everyone has a chance to survive. And I feel like we are just completely diminishing any and all opportunities for people to live peaceful, prosperous lives. LA is a perfect example. So let's go to graphic 12, because I want to talk a little bit about what's happening in LA specifically. There was something called the Ellis Act, right? So the Coalition for Economic Survival found 638 Ellis Act evictions through the first half of 2017 in Los Angeles County. For the same time last year, there were 294. The Ellis Act basically lets landlords know if you have a rent-controlled building, you can go ahead and switch it from rental property to condos or to a hotel, or if you want, you can go ahead and demolish that building and rebuild it as luxury condos or luxury apartments. And that's what's happening right now. A lot of these rent-controlled buildings for low-income individuals are being demolished, and we're building these ridiculously expensive condos or apartments that people simply can't afford. The occupancy rate in downtown LA right now is 12%. And the reason why is because they're building these luxurious places that people can't afford, right? And so it's a dumb idea to get rid of rent-controlled buildings and then go ahead and build these crazy-ass condos that people can't afford. Okay, well then we're gonna see more homeless people on the streets.
Okay, so I think that we agree on the problem. We just don't quite agree on the solution. I think the solution is to help the people who are homeless, and I know you agree with that portion of it.
Right.
And to help, like Utah did a really interesting program where they had this crazy idea. They're like, well, we got homeless, why don't we build them homes? And I was very skeptical about it, to be fair, right? But it turns out, no, it worked. And it turned out to be a much cheaper solution. They built, fairly, obviously cheap homes, but they got them off the street, they got them some sort of housing, and it doesn't work in every case. If you have mental illness, you're not gonna stay there. But you can then provide a little bit more funding for mental illness, and that's a much better way to deal with the homelessness, I think, than saying to someone who has a property, you're not allowed to do X, Y, or Z with that property.
No, look, and I get it, and I get that side of the argument, especially since my dad is a property owner, and that's his. He didn't save for retirement. He lives off his apartment buildings and the rent that he collects, right? And so I get it. It's super uncomfortable to have the government get involved and tell you as a property owner who poured all of your resources into these buildings, no, you can't do this or that, right? But there needs to be some sort of balancing act, and right now there is no balancing act. Right now the investors come in and they're like, we're gonna buy your building for double what it's worth because we wanna demolish it and we wanna build
because they think they're gonna make money.
No, I know,
don't think that's not a thing to balance. I mean, look, rent control, we just talked about Venezuela, how bad price controls are. Rent controls are price controls.
Yeah, I like rent control. I don't think there's anything wrong with rent control.
And look, I could make the opposite argument from mine and say they have rent control in New York. New York has not sunk. They exist. It didn't destabilize the market completely, but overall, I think that they affect the market in other ways. On the other hand, prices that are for buildings that are not rent control in New York are sky high for a number of different reasons. But could rent control have made the other apartments more expensive? It is possible. So I would rather address the homelessness than to deal with other people's property.
I know, Cenk, but you need to make $106,000 a year to afford a 2-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles. I'm not even having a conversation about buying something, just renting a 2-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles. You need to make 6 figures, okay? If you are working as a social worker, for instance, which by the way is an incredibly noble job to take on, and you have gotten your master's degree and you are credentialed, you will put yourself through school, there is no reason why you should live in government housing. Okay, and we're getting to that point right now. And just to give you another insane statistic, so there's been a 23% increase in homelessness in Los Angeles County since last year.
That's a huge number.
Yeah.
So look, last thing is, I think this is the right way to have this conversation. I don't like the black and white where we say, no, it's all X people's fault, or on the conservative side say like, oh, homeless, just get them out of the streets, who cares about them, right? No, come on, if you're a decent human being, you gotta care about these folks. And it's not like they're bums. Why did it go up so, did a quarter more decide to become lazy over the last year? No, there's obviously economic conditions that are driving it. I just think we're better served not only in doing the things that we talked about, but you're right, people are not getting paid decent wages. So then I would say we should increase the minimum wage, we should find better opportunities, free college education, so you have equality of opportunity. I would just address it from a different angle than you would.
Right.
And I know you don't disagree with the things that I'm saying.
No, I don't disagree. I think that you have good solutions. I'm not against those solutions, but one other thing that I would do is, you're a foreigner who wants to invest in US property, no, you're done, okay? Unless you come here, you are a US citizen and then you wanna buy property, fine. But if you are living in Russia or living in China and you want a way to launder your money, you don't get to do it with US properties.
I like that now the conservatives have anchor babies, liberals now have anchor apartments. We're against anchor apartments. Conservatives should join us on that cause.